What is up, YouTube? This is Jared Spalding here. Today I'll be talking about some of the most common rookie mistakes when it comes to buying silver. So let's jump into the list here with what I find to be by far the most common mistake, and that is buying fake silver. Now, fake silver, you hear about it all the time, especially if you are a big time silver stacker. It's probably made its way into your stack sometime, maybe without you even knowing it. But, I mean, this can really become a lot more severe for certain people, especially beginners with a lot of money. You don't know what you're doing, but you got a lot to spend. So, you come in, buy a couple 100-ounce bars, they're fakes, and you lose several grand. I mean, this is kind of an extreme example, but I mean, all in all, it is what happens. It might not be that severe for you, but you know, ultimately, you lose a couple $1,000. So, like, you know, like, I mean, I personally have never had an experience with fake silver. I cannot lie and say I have, because I really have not. Then again, I'm not a big time stacker who's coming in, you know, flashing off all their money or anything like that. I'm not a very big stacker. I try to stack what I can, you know, but I'm really not that big. And also, I did a lot of research before I even considered investing in metals, you know. So, like, I really had that knowledge, which is why I haven't made any mistakes like that, you know, at least not yet. Now, how can you avoid these mistakes? Well, this one you can easily avoid by doing two things. My hand, there we go, two things. First, you can only buy from big time companies. I'm talking about Provident, MCM, or APMEX. Now, right now I'm going to say off the bat, I don't recommend APMEX just because they have screwed people over. People lose money with them. You know, I heard of many cases, and they kind of overprice their stuff. It's really not worth what they're asking for it a lot of the time. So, you know, but you're not going to get fakes with them, just like the other ones I mentioned. Any big company like that is going to be good usually, because not only that, but also they can afford to sell you silver at fair prices usually, you know, because they are mining so much of it. Now, the other thing you can do is, if you do have to buy from a smaller company or like someone on eBay or something, only get certified bars. Only get ones that have a COA, or just in a case that you know is real. You know what I mean? A case that proves that a certain company has authenticated it as real. Probably didn't say that word right, but basically, yeah, basically what you can do. And I mean, those companies kind of also overcharge you, the smaller people, or if you get lucky, they undercharge you. So like, then you're kind of taking a risk with, but especially if you're new and you don't really know that much about silver prices and trends. But I mean, you know, as long as it's certified, at least you know what you're getting is real. Now, speaking of overpricing, that is the second most common rookie mistake I see. People buying silver for over what it's worth. Now, this isn't going to happen with a big company. You know, I already stated that they're not really a risk if you're buying silver, to have it be, you know, whatever kind of fake silver, whether it be German silver or whatever. But there's, again, two things that you really want to, this time, there's two things you want to avoid. First of all, you want to avoid weird foreign silvers. Now I'm talking about not Canadian or like a big country like that, but like African silver, and that has like different languages on it, because you really don't know what that's made from. That could be underweighted, or it could be overpriced. You know, you don't know. Plus, that could, going back to what I said before, that could also be fake. So that's another thing you want to avoid. with silver. You know, don't buy it from weird countries, especially if you're getting it all the way from that country, because chances are you're going to be overpaying for shipping unless you get free shipping. Another way to make sure you're not getting overpriced, and this is a really big thing that you want to do regardless, is have a app that allows you to track the price of silver. And if you don't have a phone, go on a website on your computer, do something. Even if you look in the newspaper, do that, because you're going to want to know what the price of silver is. You're going to also want to look at some trends, opening and closing for the last month or whatever. You know, like it's February, look at the opening and closing price for silver in January. You know, like, you're really going to want to make sure that you know that you're not going to be getting ripped off, because maybe 10 minutes ago silver was $22 an ounce and now it's 16, and you could be waiting another day and the silver prices on eBay or wherever you're buying them from will go down. Now, chances are on websites they're going to automatically go down, but a lot of times sellers won't be able to actually bring down the prices until a little bit later. When I'm talking about eBay or any big website like that. Now I'm gonna start getting into less common rookie mistakes. You know, like ones that you're not gonna see quite as much, but it can still happen. First one is not knowing really what type of silver you're getting. Like, for example, you might not know what constitutional silver is. You know, you might not realize that there is really no difference between constitutional and junk silver. You also might not know what bullion means or any of these terms. Now, I'm going to go over a brief thing of terms right now. Junk and constitutional are the same. They are old. Basically, any kind of currency usually refers to U.S. currency, especially constitutional, concerning, you know, the Constitution. You know, it's basically old silver U.S. currency. Now, silver U.S. currency, anything besides nickels and pennies before 1964, Kennedy halves were also silver from 65 to 69, if they're made in the San Francisco Mint, I believe. I know that maybe all of them were silver. I know that some bicentennial quarters were also silver, but besides the Kennedy halves made later, all were 90% silver. The Kennedy halves that were from 65 to 69 were 40% silver, still many times their face value. And also nickels during the war, I believe from mid-42 to 1945, from the San Francisco Mint were also silver. So that is constitutional or junk. Now the next kind, bullion, that is pure silver. You're usually not going to be getting coins, you'll usually be getting rounds or bars. People often confuse rounds and bars. I'm sorry, don't confuse rounds and bars. I mean, someone might, but people more often confuse rounds and coins. Rounds are ones of certain denominations. They are in the same shape as a coin, however, you know, they weigh an exact amount, whether it be 1, 2, 5, 10, or maybe 20 troy ounces. Speaking of which, silver is always in troy ounces, not ounces. A troy ounce is slightly more than an ounce, just so you know. But back to the point here, bars are a lot different than both of these things, because they are, you know, basically just a bar of silver that is also pure. Now make sure that your silver does say 0.999, 9995, or 9999 plus, whatever. Make sure it's at least 999 silver, because people could not print the purity on there and you can be getting ripped off, and it's not even illegal, you know. Another thing I want to say, you know, actually I'll finish discussing the bars and everything. Basically, yeah, bars, they often weigh more. You can get 1 ounce or 5, 10. You can get up to 100 ounce bars. Sometimes silver will be in other weights besides customary, you know, metric weights, which is usually the other primary example. They could also have some kind of weird country, but like I said, you want to avoid that silver usually. Now metric 1 gram is only 1/28 of an ounce, so definitely make sure you're only paying about $1.50 for those if they're really nice. That might be how much you're paying, but you should really only be paying like $1 or less for a gram of silver. A grain is 1/15 of a gram, so like just try to avoid those completely unless like you're like me and buying them for the novelty, because that's really the only reason why I have some, just because they're kind of interesting to look at. And once you go past grams, you're usually going to get into 10 gram, 50 gram, 100 gram bars. Kilogram, those are 1,000 gram bars. Those are 32.15 ounces. So they're less than a third of a 100-ounce bar. So to make sure you're definitely paying the proper prices. You can do the exact price calculations, but basically don't get fooled by the metric system thinking it's more or less than what it actually is. Now, another thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that when you are buying silver that maybe, I don't want to say that you know the person per se, but you've had at least some kind of positive experience with them before, because you're not going to know how a mint's going to treat you, even if it's a big company. I mean, I never knew that AppMex did this. I bought from them before. I bought old coins from them before, I believe, and I've never had a bad experience. I bought Morgan dollars from them, and I was perfectly fine, but other people have had bad experiences. So if you're gonna buy from Mint, do what I call a testing, basically where you buy maybe an ounce of silver, buy from their eBay page so you don't have to get a minimum purchase or whatever. And basically what you're going to do with that is just buy a small amount, so you know that you're going to have a positive experience before you buy 100 ounce or kilos or whatever you're planning on buying next, or very valuable things. You want to make sure that it's a trustworthy mint. Also do research on them, because you could really get screwed over like those people did, or anyone has. I mean, you can say anything bad about any mint. Also make sure you have verified sources, of course, for your information, because you're not going to want some guy who's saying something bad about one mint and then it's not actually true, it never happened. People will do that for the attention. It's sad and pathetic, but people do perform those kind of acts, so we definitely avoid those. Make sure that this actually is a trustworthy review. Reviews do need reviews sometimes too. But anyway, back to the main point here. There's a lot of mistakes to be made with silver. Don't be one of those people who make a cruel mistake that I have mentioned. All these mistakes I've barely been referring to are all these problems people can occur goes with the actual buying of silver. But now I want to move on to the handling I guess you could say shipping. If you are selling it, but basically just the way that you treat your silver. So now we are on the second part. That is how you do treat your silver. So basically, when you are treating silver, you're going to want to, first of all, make sure you have the proper cases for it. Make sure you know that your silver bars are in cases, or at least in something to protect them, because if you have a nice bullion around that is normally $4.50 over spot, and then it gets all scratched up and it's just junk, then you're going to end up dealing with that much of a loss, because in the future, if silver goes up as high as people think, that same bar could be worth $25-$30 over spot. You're losing a lot of money, and you really don't need to lose that money if you do simply care for it properly. Another thing when handling silver is if you are shipping it out, make sure you got proper packaging, bubble mailers, all that good stuff, and make sure you're not trying to squeeze a big silver bar into a small box, because if somebody knows something's in there could be valuable, then it could get stolen. And speaking of which, if you are buying large amounts of silver, get insurance on what you're getting. If you're shipping it out, offer insurance to the buyer, make them feel a little bit more secure about the silver that they are getting from you. And if you add that option, or if you throw it in for free, if it's an expensive bar, then you'll definitely get a little bit more credit for yourself. if you make sure it comes with insurance. If you're buying, get insurance on it if they don't already offer it, because the post office will provide you with insurance even if the seller does not. But yeah, basically another thing you're going to want to do if you are handling silver, and I'm talking about cleaning it, don't. I mean, it depends. First of all, don't use harsh chemicals on your silver. And if you keep it in cases, it really shouldn't need to be cleaned as long as it's not being touched by hands all the time, you know what I mean? Because, like, there's no point of having your silver get cleaned if it doesn't need it. And if it does, then you can use water. Even that you need to be careful with, because you could not only scratch it, but you could wear down the details on the silver. And really, I mean, once a silver bar can be, if you can't even see the weight on it or anything, if all those details are worn down, what's the point of doing that? Just keep your silver bars safe. Don't use any harsh chemicals, like I said. And sorry, that's me cracking my fingers. But basically, yeah, that's what you're gonna want to do with silver. That's how you're gonna want to treat it. So that has been the video. Please make sure you share this. I've given out a lot of information that I personally think is valuable and that I would have wanted to know. There's not enough videos like this out there. Please, like I said, make sure you share this with everyone, especially a new buyer that you might know, or just your friends who are trying to get in or whatever, because this information needs to get out there to everyone who is looking to buy and doesn't know what they're getting into. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed and you do have a YouTube channel, comment this video please, like it and subscribe. And if you didn't enjoy, you don't have to dislike, just tell me what you didn't like about it in the comment section. Try to give me a well-informed argument. Don't give me some ridiculousness, because no one really wants to hear it, especially not me. And even if you do, I will reply regardless of those comments I just think are funny. So if you really want to, go ahead. But I'd prefer a well-informed argument so I can have a structured conversation with you about what you didn't like. And with that, I'd like to say peace, love, and much respect.